Hello and welcome to tonight's video where we're going to cover patch 14.16 and how it may affect LOL esports and the players on these teams. So there are about 8 teams on the board listed here. That's about a quarter of what's left in terms of World's viability. Teams that are eliminated from playoffs or no longer in competition are not on this list. To determine buffs and nerfs, I simply look at what the Riot team says. Nerfs are nerfs, buffs are buffs, and if it's adjusted, I do look on Twitter to see if Froxen or Freak lend some insight as to what they're doing, and then go from there whether to include it or not. Senna is a good example. Senna technically was nerfed for ADC, but buffed for support, so that's it actually affects this board that we have here. And then there are some things with Corki, Lucian, etc. In terms of determining whether a team is buffed by a champion being buffed, the player in that given role has played that champion at least 4% of games since Season 12. And you'd be surprised how many players do not have that threshold for a popular champion like Azir, Orianna, etc. And then for nerfs, we have a situation where, well, actually, Vi and Wukong as well. I mean, I only named 2, but Vi and Wukong also, we had some players that didn't play either at all. And then we have nerfs. If a team played a champion 8% of games this season, they're nerfed, in my opinion. That champion no longer is as strong. So, HLE topped the list. All these teams over here come away +4. Technically, no team comes out of this negatively. FPX and Shopify go out at net 0. So everybody else that's not on the board falls in between +3 to +1. HLE, Skarner is buffed. Doran played enough Skarner this year to warrant that being on the list. Whether it becomes OP again, that's another thing entirely. Vi, Wukong both buffed. Peanut played both of those. You're going to find that everybody on the board has that going for themselves. Azir, Silas both buffed. Zeka plays those, but Zeka played Corki, and that means he is slightly nerfed as well in that respect. KT just beat Genji apparently, I haven't actually watched the game yet. I've been so focused on this video, I'll watch the game after. But based on the Discord, it seems like KT gave them quite a run. Skarner for Perfect, Vi Wukong for Pyoshik, Azir, Orianna, Syndra for BDD. I did see a meme that this was going to buff the LCK. I do believe that this patch certainly will buff LCK mid. So BDD has played plenty of Azir, Orianna, Syndra meta in his time. However, did play quite a bit of Corki this year, and also Deft played quite a bit of Senna. And those are 2 nerf champions. KDF, Skarner for Dudu, Vi Wukong for Cuz, Azir for Bulldog, Senna for Andal. Andal is the only, now if he plays over Quantum, remains to be seen. But if they do go with Andal, then he benefits from the Senna buff on 14-16. He has played it quite a bit in the bot lane support role. And then Corki nerf for Bulldog. LEC, Fnatic, Vi Wukong for Razork, Azir, Orianna, Silas for Humanoid, and they did play a lot of Corki this year. Giant X, no negatives, 4 positives. Vi Wukong for Juhan, Azir and Silas for Jackies. Keep in mind, I also do not include EUM or ERLs, Academy, CK, LDL, etc. I don't include that. It's just top tier 1 gameplay, I guess. LCS, Dignitas, Skarner buffed for Licorice, Vi Wukong for Spica, Azir, Orianna for Jensen. Jensen did play quite a bit of Corki. In terms of the 2 teams that come away on net 0, FPX. So ZDZ, not a big Skarner player. Whether he plays over Jalahu in the playoffs, we'll see. Now, Milky Way does not play any Vi or Wukong. No Vi or Wukong games really to speak of. I definitely no Vi games this year. Azir, Silas buffed for Care. Corki nerfed and Senna nerfed, a big champion for Duck Dom. Shopify Rebellion, Vi Wukong both buffed for Boogie, but Insanity played a lot of Corki and enough Lucian this year to end up being on this list. There are probably like 4 mids that played enough Lucian that have met the threshold of 8%, where there are about 4 mids that didn't play enough Corki to meet the threshold. So it is something interesting to see things like that. There are other champions buffed, like Kiana is a good example. There are some players that have played a bit of Kiana, but not nearly enough to reach the 4% threshold, so that's why it's not on the board. That's one that really sticks out. I mean, Katarina, I don't think anybody but maybe Knights played it in recent memory, so I mean, that's not going to appear on the board. But this champion, this patch, very, more buffs, especially the mid lane, with 5 or 6 mid lane champions buffed, but Corki, Lucian both nerfed as they try and limit their mid lane impact with the nerf based on what, like I said, Freaker Froxen said on Twitter. And people say, oh, well, you shouldn't, they're just blowing smoke up your ass, this and that. It's like, yeah, well, the way I look at it for these videos, I mean, I'm broad strokes here because the majority of people that play League, you're not going to get them getting into the nitty gritty of what the stats mean in a patch, especially a viewer. So this is kind of just telling a viewer of LOL Esports, hey, you might see more of these champions in blue on these teams than you were before because they've been buffed. And then in red, there's a chance you might see these champions less. And maybe as a result, these teams will be better off as a result of 14-16, and these teams not so much. And then again, 14-16 is a long way away. Teams are just playing on 14-15 now. The 14-14 video I'm going to force out tomorrow. Whether the LPL plays on 14-14 tomorrow morning, well, I guess that'll determine it. If they play on 15 tomorrow morning, then the 14-14 video will definitely be tomorrow. If they're still on 14-14, then I won't. But that's in hindsight too, whether a patch was effective. We've seen this year, especially in the summer months, that these patches have been pretty doo-doo if you, KDF, but they have not been great. Over the aggregate, we're seeing movement. The last patch on 14-13, there were, I think, 4 champions out of the top 10 that dropped out, but we'll see if that continues going forward. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.